Hey everybody, it's Bust with Battles with Bust number 145, and today we're going to be doing battle with Scouts. But before we jump in onto Scouts, I do want to take a hot minute to start talking about Master Yi. He is one of the newly spoiled cards. I didn't get the chance to talk about Master Yi as we were playing a bunch of Gauntlet over the weekend, but now the perfect time has kind of arisen. And so I think Master Yi looks to be quite powerful. The only I guess hot take I would say with him is he does have a lot of power built into the card, but he's in one of the worst factions in the game, and so we'll see if Ionia is able to kind of adapt and deal with this more bruisery style stuff that we see coming out of Master Yi. But in a vacuum, this is quite a strong card. If we're going to be able to play him on turn 3, say we're living out here in Magical Christmas Land, to where everything in the game is just going right, and if we have a 4/3 quick attack on turn 3, that's quite good. And now, even if our opponent finds a way to deal with Master Yi on that turn, then our future ones still get this bonus, right? And so it's a very powerful kind of effect to have this just kind of level up throughout the game. It kind of sets up these spots to where we can play one early, perhaps activate flow a couple of times. Master Yi dies because shit happens, but then on turn 8 or turn 9 or so, we could play an additional Master Yi, hopefully have flow for that turn as well, and then he could be up to a pretty reasonable 8/3 in the late game without doing too much work. And so I think these powerful abilities like this are quite strong. He does also let us cheat on mana, so you could arguably call him as a 2-cost champion instead of a 3-cost. I feel like that's a bit of a stretch, but it won't be unheard of as to where you're able to chain off a bunch of spells still on the turn that you play Master Yi. And so I think it just passes the eyeball test right from the start. If we want to take a look over at his flip side, he has a very strong ability here as well. And so he maintains the round start, cheapen the spell. He maintains the flow +2 attack. Those don't get any upgrades on the flip side, but he does pick up this ability that when he attacks, he immediately strikes the weakest enemy. And so I'm not entirely sure how that works. If this pulls up a circle ability, I don't feel like it does, right? If we come to the main spoiler page and look at the various Master Yi cards, there's no circle skill ability that comes out with this. So ideally, that's just like a burst speed strike, and your opponent doesn't get to block with that unit. And so lots of interesting and powerful potential coming out of this. And then especially as you start to add in the concept of just making additional free attacks, whether or not that's with rallies or doing it with a Ruined Reckoner or doing it with a something like Cataclysm. Very, very big potential to come in and just start acing your opponent's boards. And then the big difference between using Master Yi and something like Yasuo is that we actually want to play free attack cards. The stuns are just all actual dog shit. Nobody wants to play Yasuo because the stuns just don't kill anything. But you do want to play rallies. You do want to play free attacks. You do want to attack multiple times in the same turn. And so this ability gets, kind of a double dose of awesomeness, if you will, in terms of using the cards that we want to and being extra good there. And so I think, that's the potential for a lot of strength if we're, say, looking at a just Ionia plus Demacia style deck, some kind of classic Shin challengers kind of thing where you're doing barrier challenges, but also now you have access to rallies. Very easy spots to find a good use for Master Yi there. It would also be nice if you have a way just to give him challenger. There's not a lot of great ways running around to do it. I could see Master Yi being kind of excited about a card like Sonic Wave, since Sonic Wave is the 2 spells tied into 1 card, and then that would also be a way to give him Challenger. And so we'll see in terms of that. And so just in the kind of fair gameplay modes, he has a lot going for him, but he also has a lot going for him in terms of the unfair game modes, as to where we're just going to try and OTK our opponents with a ghost. That's a very real thing. That we could piece together with Master Yi. If we move flow 4 times, I don't think that's unreasonable of a thing to do. That would get him up to 10 attack, and then he's right and ready to just get an OTK with a Ghost coming in with Elusive. So lots of interesting potential there as well. Being within Ionia, you have nice defensive measures like Nopifies and Memories Cloaks and Denies, and so it's a lot of interesting possibilities here with a good early, good late champion with a lot of OTK potential within a faction that has a lot of defensive style counter spelly kind of cards to help ensure that he gets that far. Or you could also look to do a double attack kind of thing, potentially get a kill that way. And so I think we'll see a lot of interest out of Master Yi. My kind of initial impression is that there's only one other champion to compare him to in Kayn. But I think he seems a lot more interesting than Kayn. I guess with Kayn we haven't seen all of the darkens and the equips and all the various things that he can be useful with, but just from the initial eye test, I think Master Yi looks to be quite strong and potentially the kind of all-star out of the upcoming set. The last thing I'll make comment on with that is it does kind of interest me in what Riot intends to do, perhaps in the form of a standard format, right? The 2-year mark is where the card games tend to say, okay, this is where a standard format is going to be built. Blizzard started doing it with Hearthstone right at the 2-year mark, where they announced how the set rotations were going to work. And then Magic has historically been on a 2-year format for the past, 20 years. And it seems to just work. The idea there is twofold from a business perspective. You want people to come out and buy your new cards. And so if new cards come out and they're all duds, people don't want to buy as much. And, if you're comparing a collection of 5 years worth of cards, there's a lot more potential for cards just to be good, right? If there's, say 5 good cards in every set, and then there's 3 sets a year, then you have much more sets to draw those good cards from than if there's only 2 years of sets. And so I'm curious to see how Riot plans to push forward with potential set rotations, or if they just plan to power spike all of the new champions to make them relevant. That's certainly a concept that isn't off the table, but we're starting to come up to the time period as to where they have to decide what they're going to do. And it seems a little bit more challenging with Runeterra in that when we look at like Magic or Hearthstone, they all have core sets. Here we sort of have a core set in the Foundations set, but Foundations only has 7 factions in it. And so I'm curious if there'll be kind of a rework to Foundations to have it include all of the factions, have that kind of be a core set, if you will, or the way that they'll go about it. But like I said, you have to either start power spiking the cards to make them more relevant, just be more powerful up front, overtuned right from the get-go, or come up with a rotational kind of format. Curious how they do it. But with that out of the way, we'll jump back here to our Scouts deck. And so I know you all are getting tired of the content we're putting forth. I actually I had another Gauntlet video that I intended to release today, but my power went out in the middle of recording it, and it fucked up the videos, and so I couldn't get them to edit right. And I just said, well, whatever, these fuckers are done watching me play these same 3 decks in Gauntlet. But I do need to do it. I do need to get myself prepared for seasonals. I fully intend to play Scouts, Kaisa Action, and Trundlemere. We'll see if that kind of changes as Friday and Saturday morning rolls around. With the last season, very much so. I kind of got locked into my lineups early, as we do, and then I just started playing an actual fuckload of Talia Lysandra right before seasonals began, as people were getting in their final testing. And we'll have to see if that kind of thing drops this seasonals as well. I really don't like pivoting right before the event. I prefer to come in as a little predictable but ready, as opposed to absolutely on top of the meta but not. But we'll see if that same kind of concept happens as the seasonals tournament approaches, and we're getting prepared for it. But to look at our specific deck list here, the idea and concept behind our seasonals list is we're going to just ban Kaisa. We're playing Kaisa, also planning to ban her, and then we're having decks that have good matchups against both Darkness and Pirates. And so The idea being is if our opponent doesn't bring Kaisa, then great, we should just get a good ban. If they do if they do bring Kaisa, there's also a decent chance that they're playing either Darkness or Pirates, and then we're ready for that. And so when it comes to seasonals, I feel like we have to make the decision: do we want to focus in on Pirates or do we want to focus in on Darkness? And I fully expect people to be kind of in the control deck mindset as people get to the higher ranks of competitive play. They all think they have the biggest brain in the world, and the big brain players don't like to play aggro decks. And so I like to tune a little bit with that concept in mind, not completely give up on Pirates being there, but knowing that throughout the course of the majority of the tournament, our opponents will be more likely to play Darkness than Pirates. And so the big things that we have going on with our deck here is we're playing one copy of Radiant Guardian. This is our concession to Pirates being in the format. I don't want to stack in on them too highly, but I do want access to this card. And then otherwise, we're playing a fairly, I like to call it punch-heavy version of Scouts with the full Island Navigator plus Jin VV package. The idea here is these give us the ways that we can come in and activate our flip abilities as quickly as we can with the Misfortune and with the Quinn. Just having access to big sets of Scouts, turbocharges the champions, and then it also does double duty in terms of making our 4 Demacias extra strong. If we aren't getting in big multi-attacks with the likes of our rallies, then ideally we can get in big multi-attacks with the likes of 4 Demacia. And so not playing any Cythrias, I don't think this is really the format for her. Going with what I call, again, the big punch-heavy lineup with the Jin VVs. Down in the early game, we are still playing 1 copy of Penitent Squire, 2 copies of Mirai Warden. This is, again, our concession that Pirates is in the meta, and we do need some early game stuff to help shut them down when we're functioning as the control deck. And then the last thing I'll call out with this is, Resident Rules Guru Conanson just popped into Masters with Scouts, and he was playing in the single copy of Cataclysm, really hyping about it, and I think I'm on board. I think I really like it. As we look at a lot of the Scouts list, you see people trying to push up into the 4th copy of a rally. So we're playing 3 Golden Aegiuses, 1 Relentless Pursuit, and I'm not really on board with that. I feel like any game where you draw 2 rallies, you're just down a card and it's completely dead. But Cataclysm does give us a bit of interactivity, right? It gives us a reasonable spell to where we can pick and choose and potentially win a combat. But when we're playing the full 12 Scout units, right? We're playing the Quins, we're playing the Island Navigators, and we're playing the Jin VVs. It does give us a sort of pseudo rally on our opponent's attack tokens, right? If we come in and play Jin VV and then we Cataclysm her, we'll get the Scout attack in and then collect a rally off of the back of Cataclysm. And so that's kind of the last piece of the puzzle here. I'm wanting to try it out. I'm pretty sure I'm ultra on board with including a single copy. I think that was a pretty good piece of tech. And let's go ahead and jump in, see how it goes. And so the pay-to-win price is paid on this beast. I haven't decided if I want to come in and skin out our Misfortune. It feels kind of bad, right? We've got the entire deck completely premium as we look at the skins. We've got the Star Guardian Quinn. It's just, I'm not the hugest fan of Arcade Misfortune, but I kind of feel like we need to be pulling in the upgrades and just having our deck fully ready. I'm not making that decision today. We'll see as Seasonals approaches if we change our mind, but as it stands for right now, not gonna go premium. I'm gonna stick to classic Misfortune. It's tough, man. These are the big decisions you got to make as you make your way into a big tournament. You gotta do the decisions good, do the decisions right, and I think we're on board with the classic skin, but the pay to win monster in me just doesn't agree. All right, up against old Mono Kaisa. This is like one of the things that I think is a little bit unfortunate in the week leading up to Seasonals. I feel like it's just bad all around in terms of best of 3. I feel like it's an opportunity for Riot to be like, oh, hey, non-competitive players or sort of competitive players or Friday Night Magic grinder, here's your opportunity to try this format and test it out. If you want to tune in this weekend, we're having our premier tournament that follows this format. Why don't you give it a shot? And then for someone like myself that's prepared and getting ready for seasonals, I have to play this matchup, which is 100% waste of time for me, right? I would ideally not be playing against Kai'Sa. Our intent is just to ban Kai'Sa every time she turns up in a lineup, but I don't have any way to just naturally come out and play these matchups. And so like it's a little unfortunate, I feel like, that Gauntlet isn't available the week leading up to seasonals. I wish that there was a way that we could come out and play the game like that. It's not my decision, you know. I don't work at Riot. I just get on the internet and bitch about stuff. So, at any rate, this game is going okay. We did get a nice shutdown there early on our opponent's Broadwing with the sharp sight. Now we're just absolutely tearing through their board again. We're going to get the free attack into the Broadwing. We got the +1 attack, or the +1 health on our bird, so we can take down his 1/1. Our other units are free to come in. So if we're going to win the bad matchup, this is a good way to do it. Now, as I was talking about in the kind of preview section, this is what I don't really like. I'm not amped about drawing multiple golden Aegiuses along with the Cataclysm, but if you want to stop and say, well, what if this Cataclysm was actually a relentless pursuit, this hand would look much, much, much worse. And so we have a little bit more opportunity here to pull in some of these free attacks and interact with our opponent's units and make a good run out of this board. Okay. Are you at 5 of 6? So he's going to play Kai'Sa next turn, and then also he'll be able to use the Kai'Sa to activate Evolve. I think that's okay. I don't want to open attack here. Let's just... We have the 8 mana. If we're wanting to Golden Aegius this turn, we're going to have to go with the Island Navigator, which I think will be okay. Pulling out the Quinn bird to throw in front of his units doesn't seem spectacular here because she's not going to kill anything. Alright, so he goes Barrier, picks up the bonus to Void Blaster. That's okay. Now, how can we, like, punch in some damage here? I'm kind of, like, looking at this. Is it too much to say what happens if I just attack with the little guy? That seems a little off. If we hit with everyone, he does get the good hit on our Broadwing, but he takes 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, falls to 5. If he has a second unit, we're going to be short on damage. So this one is slightly awkward. The other thing I'm kind of looking at is what if we just Cataclysm the Bloodletter into the Void Blaster to break the barrier? That is some potential, because then we could take the guy down with our Broadwing, but I'm thinking we just pass here. Let's wait and see if he drops the Kai'Sa. Ooh, he's got a Cataclysm of his own. Yeah, that's kind of nasty. Kind of nasty. So we're back into this same spot. This just doesn't feel like enough. We'll just have to pass the turn. If he rolls into Kai'Sa this round, kind of sucks, but it's not the end of the world. Very odd pass. I wonder if he has like a Void Abomination in hand along with something else. He's got a Lurk on top of his deck. His draw next turn's not going to be any good. We'll try and just hook the Void Blaster out of combat. If he's able to, I'm gonna say, like, counterspell it, it's not bad. The one that would have been scary here would have been a Concerted Strike. All right, good deal. GG. We're safe for now. All right, so yeah, it was a little unfortunate I didn't get our last gauntlet video up here. It was a good set of matches. We of course won it because we're the best in the world, but I feel like there were some interesting and good matches in there, and we had some good commentary going on. But sometimes you just lose them. Am I right? Sad days all around. Okay, but back into here, I think against a lot of decks, I'd want to hang on to this Sharp Sight, but not so much against Zilly and Nasus. I'm not entirely sure what this guy's trying to do, but they don't have a ton of targets that I'm super interested in upgrading to take down. Like, I don't care if he plays Zillion. It's not that big of a deal. And then Misfortune can party and boost our attacks up a little bit. It's just... his units are never relevant, right? I don't care about any of them. It's not like playing against scouts to where you're like, oh fuck, I need to kill this Misfortune. It's just like I don't care about any of the units in their deck outside of this very late game Nasus.
Fortune favors the bold.
All right, girls, fuck them up. I'm ready. All right, I'm gonna just let this Misfortune fall. It's a pretty heavy investment to go big here. Uh-oh, they doing stuff? To where we protect her from the Merciless Hunter, right? We could come in and just hook the Merciless Hunter with the Broadwing, but I do like having this small value unit just hanging out because these decks do tend to play a bunch of just like the very small one healthy kind of bros. And we still get a lot of good hooks with the Broadwing if we can pick off their 0/1s. But now we got a Sculptor. We can go Broadwing. Next turn we can Mirai Warden Misfortune. We'll have this just giant board be looking pretty strong. Let's see, 1 health, bro. The downside to taking this set where we play the Durandi Sculptor Broadwing instead of playing Misfortune now is if we pick up a Scout unit next turn. It would be kind of nice to have Misfortune plus the 2 Scout units down. We just don't have that right now. You're not a Scout unit either. Sometimes you hit, right? Sometimes.
No prey, no pay.
We're gonna boom here. I think this is gonna be completely fine. Nice 8 damage chunk coming in. If he gets clever and tries to pick off one of our smaller units, I'm kind of okay with playing Ranger's Resolve. I'm kind of okay with just playing it anyways to protect our single Broadwing, but it doesn't seem necessary now. Having 1 Challenger on board should be good enough. What you bringing in, old Zillion? Sure.
The way is always the same.
Okay, protect our bird. Shouldn't need the Ranger's Resolve here, but I don't think this is the kind of spot to where I want to put the Sharp Sight onto the Broadwing, make it a 3 toughness. The 3 toughness then runs into Zillion, and then we get the kill with Misfortune. This is just going to be damage, right? We don't need to go to Value Town right now. We're in a spot where we just deal a bunch of face damage here, go into the next turn and get the kill. Cool. Fuck them up. Have y'all watched Game of Thrones yet? I have not. I have not watched the new one, so I could just come in and make some stuff up, but it's got to be tough for them, right? For HBO being them, it's just so much hype around Game of Thrones that got so deflated with the kind of ruining of the end of the seasons. I'm not sure why they let those showrunners just fuck it up like that. I'm pretty sure, at least in some of the rumor stuff that I read, that they were like, you know, if you want 3 seasons or 4 seasons to finish it off, sure, we're making ass loads of money, you know, let's do it right. And they were kind of like, yeah, fuck you, we want to go make Star Wars. And so it just didn't come out. But now it's like you have to come in and recover. You can't just have a complete bomb of a season after what they did. And like, how do you do that, right? No one comes out and says, well, I want to make a mediocre television program, right? Yeah, that's not what you do. You come out and you try to put your best foot forward and make the best thing that you can, but you can't like guarantee that it's going to be good. And so I don't know how they look to go about it. Here, I'm going to go ahead and offer up the trade. If he has a Emperor's Diaz on his hand, then he's just going to let us get the damage in for free, right? Because he's going to want to have a guaranteed unit on the following turn. And then if he doesn't have the Emperor's Diaz, well, he's going about it that way, huh? That's probably wrong. Probably wrong is what I'll venture forth with that trade. All right. So who are we bringing down this turn? We're always playing Fleet Feather Tracker, right? But do we want our Broadwing to have Challenger, or do we want to follow up with the Marai Warden? And I'm leaning towards the Warden here. There's not too much out of their deck that we want to hook. And then with him already having the Emperor's Diaz on board, I like having these extra stats from the Warden. Like, I don't know mathematically how this stands. It's probably pretty close to getting 4 power out of the Warden to where we always get the 4 power out of the Broadwing. I mean, maybe that is the way to go about it. If we just play the Broadwing but have it be formidable only. Okay. We'll see what he plays. We'll have the opportunity to react right here.
Stay still.
So he shouldn't be too likely to play another unit, right? He would have to have like a sparring student or that elusive guy. And it just doesn't feel like the space to where he's ultra likely to have it. So we should get our 4-punch in here with the... maybe not. Maybe not. We got boomed. I don't know if we would have attacked with the Marai Warden into the Sand Soldier token, but we definitely didn't have the option. Oh, fuck.
I should stamp you out like the insect you are. Nice to meet you.
Alright. Here come all my stats. It's a little unfortunate our blockability of his Sand Soldiers at this point with the domination on board, but we're gonna get a complete refill here, so we're happy to make a trade. Oof. Oof. Is that how we want to do it? Right. This is an 11 chunk. What if we want to say do this? We come in for 9. Then he plays another unit. We get to Golden Aegis and then re-attack. Like say on the second hit will only be for 2 though. Okay. Okay. That is not a big tempo play. That cannot feel good. I think I'm just going to switch over to Vanguard Sergeant now. It's a little bit less efficient than the Broadwing, but has the opportunities for a little bit better combats here. Especially on the turn we're looking to Golden Aegeus.
You will speak when I allow you.
Look at that interactivity. Ooh, feels good, man. Feels good. Get that shit out of here. The most interactive scout 2022. Okay. He's out of counterspell mana, so this Golden Aegeus is going to happen. We won't win the game this turn, but we'll win it on our next turn.
Spin it round, throw it down. Not today.
Okay. Not worried about the spell shield on this dum-dum, but if he recalls the Ribbon Dancer, this has the potential for problems in the future, so we'll go ahead and take down the Blade Dancer. Alright, so if we open, like this is what, 10? He needs 2 cards to stop this, right? He would have to take out our 3 attack unit and then have like a health potion, so it's probably a fairly safe open. And then that's another one of those spots to where even if it goes wrong, he's going to have to invest basically all his resources into not dying, and then he probably can't kill us on the next turn. He only had 3 cards in hand, and so if he's spending 1 card as a recall, 1 card as a health potion, he's only left with 1 card, and then no mana, so seems like it should be okay. Alright, the old Trundlemere deck. Need to look for some 1s and some 2s against this. There is like minor arguments for hanging on to Vanguard Sergeants because they can survive a 3 damage AoE, but I'm not a huge supporter of that. I'd rather come out with just a really powerful and strong curve and then punish their bad draws the best we can. Alright, we'll go for the damage. There's an argument to play the Durandi Sculptor since he can AoE for 2 and then start to Vile Feast our 3 health units. But we can wait a turn to see if that's going to be relevant. We're not attacking next turn, we're not blocking next turn, so losing out on the 1 point of health here isn't that big of a deal. Interesting, no block. Like, what's he hoping to get better with than this before he plays an AoE?
Discipline is steel.
I'd assume this is now a Trundle coming in next turn, since he has the faces. Probably don't have to worry about AoEs anymore.
Looking for trouble? It found you.
Now, this is a downside here. If we'd played the Sculptor on 2, we could play Misfortune now. Or if we played Sculptor on 3, we could play Misfortune on 4. And then go into next turn with 3 spell mana. And then Cataclysm off the Quinn. But I feel like that's a pretty heavy collection of assumptions one to make.
Show them our metal.
Feels like he sequenced this very weird. The pre-combat catalyst of the Aeons and all this, I'm not entirely sure what to think about this. So are we just going to get domed by a ruination next turn? Hmm. Let's see what happens. Let's start playing some cards. See if we can't get them to just spend a bunch of mana right now so they can't bank into the next turn.
Come on in.
All right, let's get to work.
I like this barrier onto Misfortune less and less. There's not too many ways he could have dealt damage to her this turn. Be looking a lot better if we could punch in with the Broadwing. But we do still have the Rally in hand. Or no, we don't. We have Cataclysm in hand. We can look to move to Quinn Cataclysm. I'm gonna open here. Like we're hit way too hard if we let him hit this with the Ruination. Okay.
Demacia needs healing. A slight adjustment.
See where that gets us. Interesting. We're gonna do it. We're gonna make the cool play of the day. Voices of the Old Ones. Uh-oh. That seems that seems a little off key. All right. Rip 'em and roll 'em, my dudes.
Fortune smiles.
Gotta get used to having that Cataclysm. I've been exceptionally happy with it though. I feel like it has a pretty good place here, even though we aren't playing units with quick attack. As a just that nice bit of interactivity, or getting that that extra hits in with the scouts feels kind of nice. All right, let's see what amount of Vile Feasts our opponent has here. That's what this kind of hand usually is going to struggle with. I think we should probably just skip out on the turn 1 damage here. They just have a reasonable number of ways to start interacting with the bird after the first turn. I'd prefer to just have it come down with that extra point of health.
Slight adjustment.
Big head, big brain.
All right, so far so good.
Steady hand.
Sure. See, Bird, we saved you. We fought valiantly for your rights, for your needs. We said, don't come down on turn 1 and just fall to pokey stick. Say, I got you, fam. I got you in the future. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. We're going to get him good, aren't we? I think we're going to get him good. He's thinking about it. Do something weird. He's not going to see the Cataclysm coming, right? He thought on that awfully hard. Alright, I'm not just going to roll into the Vile Feast. Let's just keep the mana banked up, though. There's a reasonable chance that we'll be happy to Cataclysm this turn. And so let's just see how it plays out.
Bursted at the seams.
Oh, Vagar. You don't have very many combat stats, my friend. I did. I did the mathematics on your combat stats, and they're low. They're low. It's about 5. I don't know. I don't know if anyone else did the math on that.
Lord Vader, you cannot rush perfection.
So, do we want to get our Quinn involved here? Right? He's got the big damage darkness that can potentially take her down. I don't think I like it. Since we're so close to just getting in a bunch of attacks and generating the free birds, I think we'll let it just hang out for the moment. The game would indicate he's going to try and take down our bird. That's fine.
Where's my hammer?
Get these big damage punches in. Now if we get to get these scout attacks in with Quinn, can potentially take the Robemaker down with the additional bird. I think we're okay. The thing that would be painful here is if he has the like the lifesteal unit, whatever it's called, the 4/5 lifesteal that generates a thing. Okay. I don't think I care if our unit gets killed by a vengeance or by a mini-morph, right? The rally is still going to happen. Ideally, we'll get to attack with Quinn and have her punch in with the barrier, but if he's just passing with all of this mana, that's where my head would immediately go, is that he's like just okay to bank through the turn. He has a blocker, he has a big spell, but like a mini-morph to Quinn, not that big of a deal. We're here just to punch in the damage. She might even get to do some cool shit with this Cataclysm, right? That is very odd, though. If he had it, he should have not let us attack, right? He could have stopped Quinn from attacking and not get this scout attack in. Now we're guaranteed to get the bird hit coming. So weird, he's still just passing. I don't know, man. I'm going to add some more shit to the board.
Now that's a bit better.
We got this attack token. We might as well use it, right? Let's get a big 7-stack crab on the board. Come to the party, big crab. We gotta save these summons for when we're playing against pirates and like in round 9, the big win and end round of seasonals. So we'll see what happens. I'm also curious if we find ourselves in a spot here. Well, first off, like, if you Cataclysm a Quinn when she's flipped, and then that summons the bird, what the fuck happens there? Does like Quinn come out to the middle? Say like our opponent just has one unit, right? And then our Quinn comes out to the middle. We could have probably just killed here with the Ranger's Resolve, but I want to see how this goes. So our Quinn comes out for a scout attack thing. I don't know. Oh, we don't have the mana? Fuck this game. All right, let's do it next turn. Who cares if we win or not? We're doing this for science. Come on, dude. You don't like science? Fucking fine. I'm curious though. At what point, if she comes to the middle and then the bird would hook the husk off to the side and then she would get to punch in for her 4 damage? I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm not a rule book. It's tough to see with Cataclysm as well because it's if you look at the Oracle's Eye, it'll just show the unit moving to the middle because or it does something you can't see how the combat's going to go because there's a step of resolution that happens on the stack before the combat happens, and so it can't see that far into the future. Man, why you gotta be like that, guy? Probably had a chess game to get to. He wasn't playing by himself. No solo chess for me, my friends. All right, opponents on the attack. Okay, trying to envision the place where we start to run into some problems with the Elise deck is, with all their fearsomes, and we don't have great ways to get into combat with them, and so the sharp sight does let us grow a unit, and that was going to be like, especially if we just don't have another 2-drop this turn. We drew a 2, but it's a scary place to be. Let's wait and see what they do. If they pass it back to us, that's okay. I'm kind of like thinking in my headpiece that we did just pick up a misfortune, and so we're giving our opponent some incentive to pass here, and that's also giving us an opportunity to bank up, make it rain mana, right? So now we can play our 1 copy of Misfortune, make it rain out their board. Give me some of that juice. And unfortunately taking this damage. We can't get all the wins for the turn, I guess, but we'll take a moment to gather some value and just take the butler down with the bird.
Where's my axe?
The idea with this, we could have taken the value play onto the butler, but we're actually getting like big chunks of damage in now, and so we can sharp sight our Misfortune to block him and not have to take a damage if he comes in next turn. Bright Steel is a big draw if we can get it on the board. All right, so we get to Bright Steel the Misfortune, block the Butler with her, put the Bright Steel in front of the Doom Beast, not lose out on too much. We could still Golden Aegis after that, but I think this is the spot where we'll just get units on the board and try and Aegis in future turns. Making the big decision on these units, though. Is this actual 4 units? I can't remember if the Stalking Shadow only shows the number of cards in terms of the number of units that they see.
I've got your back.
I got that protection for you, Misfortune. I was gonna say, I bet there's another onlooker coming in, but we'll still have the time to put more dudes on the board. And here, just don't die, right? Just don't die. We can come into the next round of combat. We'll be looking pretty good. Quinn, perfect. I was gonna say Genvivi would have been like a little bit more perfect, but any scout unit here would do. Oh boy, just bringing it right to the nugget.
Scouting ahead.
Okay, this is a 10-piece coming at you. Got him. GG. Marketed W for the scout.
Fortune smiles.
Fortune smiles. Good stuff. Taking us right up into that heavy into the diamond area here. GG. Right, on to the next one. We might pull off that mythical 8-0 with this thing. Who knows? Probably just jinxed it, but you never know. You never know. All right, reasonable enough start. It's Twisted Fate Sivir. I'm not entirely sure what would be coming out of this. If it's going to be like a like Tentacles deck with Sivir in it, or what's happening coming out of the Bilgewater. But I think we're good to hold on to Ranger's Resolve if we're going to get AoE'd by a Twisted Fate, and then still just get rid of the Vanguard Sergeant. Look for a little bit better card, whether or not it's just another cheaper play or Misfortune or what have you. It's kind of our fallback play that I'm not super excited to find in the early game. All right, bring in that aggro thing, that aggro thunder, if you will. A little bit of Bakai Reaper. Ideally, we'll get the Durandi Sculptor down and follow up with the Bright Steel, and so there's a decent chance that he just comes at us a little bit too aggressively. But, I mean, we did just pick up a second Ranger's Resolve, and so if we want to jump out in front of this stuff, we can. The Thrashing Snapper is going to morph into big boy mode, though, which is slightly problematic. But I think this is still okay. We'll keep the bird behind because we have our Bright Steel back here. Is it? Yeah. Never surviving this one. We had the opportunity to get in front of the Mirai Wardens. Maybe we should have looked to play this a little bit around a Ranger's Resolve, but since we picked up a second one, and I think this will be fine. The space we're about to get into next turn's a little scary with Make It Rain being a possibility. But Bright Steel just said that we're covered, and so nothing could go wrong. No problems will ever be imminent. I think we're okay. Puts it forward, pulls it back. All right.
Like a fish in water.
This could potentially be some Make It Rain. It's a little frightening with the Powder Keg coming down for some reason, and then him hanging out with 2 mana and not doing anything. And then he also gets to come down and pick up a cheapo card with the Zap Spray Fin. And so I'm not like amped about how this looks, but oh shit, we don't have a unit play to do it like this. I just assumed our Broadwing was able to block because we're we're on turn 5 of the game here. It makes sense that it would be able to get into combat, but not quite.
Gently, gently.
All right, well, we got a lot of punch in hand now with the Radiant coming down to gain us 1,000,000 health and the Genvivi to get things done. I was expecting to have to Ranger's Resolve by this point, but hasn't turned up.
Keep up, keep up.
Now the slightly awkward thing is if we want to play Genvivi on our next turn, she's going to lose out on that stat bonus on our following attack. So kind of sucks. We don't have the mana to do Genvivi plus Golden Aegis this turn, but I don't think I care. I feel like we're about to just start steamrolling through this board. Even if he comes in and drops Waking Sands, it's not that scary. Just like a single life gain from the Radiant should take us pretty far. I'm still curious what like their end game is. Just lose. Sorry, Dr. Chekhov. Apparently your end game is just lose. But it's apparently powerful enough. All right, final battle. Got those 8-0 opportunities. Let's see how we do. I believe in us. I believe in me. I believe in you. Let's do it. Oh, mirror match. Someone playing scouts is going to win this one. So what do we got? Let's hang on to our Broadwing. Look for some more powerful plays. Not bad, not bad. This is that kind of classic start you see out of the Freylord decks, to where you have a 2-drop into a 2-drop into your Troll Chant and the Freylord, but having the Sharp Sight here gives us a little bit in the ways of protection, a little bit of boosting with the Broadwings if they need some extra health. And I was thinking earlier in the day, like how I actually felt about potentially cutting out a Durandi Sculptor from the deck, because it's not great against pirates. It's not great against like the control decks if it's not like pushing you out of AoE ranges and stuff. And so the places where it really shines are in spots like this, where we're out here playing against decks like Scouts, to where we can start forcing a lot of value blocks onto their units. And I'm just curious how much Scouts will end up seeing and how relevant that stuff is going to turn out here. Gonna protect one of our sculptors. We'll protect the one that's... Oh. I want to protect the one that's getting pushed in front of the Fleet Feather Tracker, but he doesn't have Challenger. Okay, still strong. Our bird's about to get big. So the only awkward thing coming out of this is we would like to get the Island Navigator on board next turn, but then we can't Sharp Sight, or if we want to Sharp Sight, we can't play the Island Navigator. I would say with utmost certainty, as we roll into turn 6, we're going to try and drop Jinvivi on the board, but our opportunities here are a little bit awkward for her. Yep, completely fine. So what do we pick up? The Vanguard Sergeant does give us the opportunity to get the Sharp Sight going, but I think it's like I'm fine with him trading away the Fleet Feather Tracker at this point. If we're able to get double attacks with our scouted units, right? We play Jinvivi next turn and get 2 attacks with the boosts. I think that's going to just be much stronger than anything they're doing right now. Inspired Light, okay. We still have good combats against most of this board. So he's down to 1 card, right? If his 1 card is like a Golden Aegeus, then this is like a space where I would like to trade away the Jagged Butcher, but I think we're going to survive out of this turn okay. And I do want to pick up the bonus stat onto Jinvivi here, so we'll let that one just roll through. Come into the next turn. Try and make some goodies happen. So we can punch through okay, right? It would be unfortunate, I guess, if he like has the Golden Aegeus onto Bird, but I mean that doesn't sound very exciting, right? I'm not excited by it. I don't know about you. He has Jinvivi of his own. That's okay. Let's just murder his board. We can build through this quite nicely. We're still getting our stat bonuses through the Durandi Sculptor. It's got a nice 2-for-1 here. We'll have the 7 mana next turn to play both Vanguard Sergeant and Island Navigator. And so our Fort Demacia is going to be quite powerful rolling back to our next attack.
We Demacians are no easy prey.
The ocean charts our course.
Just like hunting thresher geese.
Fool do not doubt.
Okay, I think this is safe enough. We can just go ahead and add bird. That's going to let us sharp sight this turn if we have to. The downside is on our next turn, we can't do both the sharp sight and the Vanguard Sergeant. So we've got to just see if he comes in for lethal. He's not. I'm not upset about anything here as long as we aren't losing our scout units. We may want to be like a little careful in terms of... You don't even need to play around Golden Aegis, right? We'll just have enough blockers if that's what he's bringing forth. It's just, do we want to play it like a little bit safer and take down this Bright Steel? I don't think we need to. Okay. This is that like last little nugget I was talking about at the end of our deck discussion and why I really like having access to the full 12 scouts, right? Is we find these board positions to where, you know, we don't have the Golden Aegis to really power through all of this. We still have a lot of strong opportunities now since we just have 4 scout units on the board to get a big, gigantic advantage out of the 4 Demacia. Not something that you would get out of the Cythria, right? Cythria would be okay here, right? Since she would punch in and our opponents wouldn't have good blocks and everything. But in terms of just getting a big game-ending attack, the scouts give us a few different avenues of attack. Okay. He's doing stuff. I don't know what else to say about it other than just like, okay. I'll put my big units forth. I think he's just spewing off as the game ends. And there we go. A nice little 8-0, a nice strong set of victories as we wrap up our testing session with the Scouts deck. And I thought that, you know, it turned out quite nicely. I was pretty happy with the deck as we were playing through all of the various gauntlets. I felt like a lot of our opponents are going to be on kind of a similar strategy as to where if you're bringing Kaisa, well, that's what I'm going about the similar strategy piece, is just bringing Kaisa and banning Kaisa. And so I feel like we're going to have to play Scouts a lot. And I feel like it's both a strong deck in this meta, and then it's also a deck that I'm pretty comfortable playing. And so it kind of fell off the map in the previous set where Bard was just so powerful you just didn't have enough stats to play against Bard, right? You're running your 2/2s with Misfortune into their 4/4s, and they're just like, LOL, check this out. I have all these stats on board. I'm just going to block whatever you do. But the Bard decks kind of get crushed by Pirates, and I'm not expecting too much of it. That's kind of one of these things as we get to the end of the week. I'm going to have to see if the Pirates in their full force of coming out were just there because, you know, it was a new patch and people want to be like, oh wow, I hit Masters. Look at how good I am. I played a bunch of Pirates as the new cards were released, or if it's going to, you know, maintain being a big deal. And, you know, if Pirates isn't going to be there to keep Bard in check, and Bard does make an appearance at seasonals, that will be kind of tough. And so that's what I'm talking about. I'm going to have to kind of wait until Friday or Saturday and see how it feels in terms of what the meta looks like as people make their final preparations for the tournament. But I feel like that's probably a bit of an overreach. I don't feel like these decks popping up right at the end of the season are really something that we'll see to a large extent. And I think we should be fairly safe. I haven't played the Alawi Bard matchup or the say like Poppy Bard matchups recently. They are certainly weaker, but I think it's probably weaker to the degree to where it's like a 55-45 matchup in their favor, and it's not something to where we're just like, I could never win this match, which is how it felt pre-nerf to Bard. And so I think we'll be okay in that sense. That's the only thing that kind of, you know, worries me in my brain piece in the back, but it doesn't feel like Alawi Bard's been on anybody's radar for the past week, and so I don't think it'll be that big of a deal. But in terms of the other things happening here, I like the list. I really enjoyed the Cataclysm. Thank you again for Coninson for popping that one out. That was pretty spectacular throughout the course of our run. And I'm very happy with the list here as well. There are some edits that I could kind of look to make. I'm fine with the one copy of Radiant Guardian. That's a little bit off meta, but the only places otherwise would be, do we want to hang on to these Mirai Wardens? They're mainly here for the Pirates match, and if we're not seeing Pirates, I would like to just put in something else. And then how do we feel about playing 2 copies of Ranger's Resolve? I definitely like 1. I'm not a huge fan of playing 2 unless there's a bunch of Twisted Fate running around, and I don't feel like there's going to be a bunch of Twisted Fate running around, and so it makes me feel a little bit better about dropping to 1. But I'll definitely never go below 1 as I go into battle at seasonals. It's just one of those cards to where you have open deck lists and you don't want them to be able to play like you never have it. And so it's like without a heavy Twisted Fate make it rain kind of meta, the Ranger's Resolve feels a little bit off. But I feel like it might also just be kind of a factor of I haven't played Pirates in like the past 20-25 matches, and I'm kind of like slipping, and I need to pay it more respect than I'm doing. But otherwise, I would feel pretty confident just picking this up, taking it into seasonals. I think we're in a pretty good spot here. And so that's going to do it for us today. Hope everyone enjoyed the video, maybe learned a thing or two along the way, and had a good time watching. This is Bust, and we thank you for being here.